Afternoon and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Global Nomads Group and Students Rebuild live webcast of the school year. My name is Afia Williams, and I am joining you live from New York City, representing Global Nomads Group. And as part of the Students Rebuild Facing Difference Challenge, we have an exciting program for you today on the topic of faith and religion. In conversation with us today are students from Jos, Nigeria, Kenai and Soldotna, Alaska, Paintsville, Kentucky. And again, I am here in New York City. And we have a special guest joining us today. His name is Saji Pregus. He is also in Nigeria, and he is the Director of Children and Youth Programming for Search for Common Ground. And he is also the co-chair for the United Nations Interagency Youth and Peace Building Group. Okay, so we're going to start by meeting our youth leaders that are joining us today in a quick introduction round robin. We'd like to have one student from each location introduce your group and tell us your location, your age, and a fun fact about your community, okay? And we'll start in Alaska. Would you like to start, Kenai?
Yeah. Okay. Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm 17. I'm in the Kenai High School, and we have about 460 kids in our 9 through 12 high school. Thank you.
Soldotna?
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm a freshman, and a fact about our class is that we're a 9th grade only school. Thank you.
Kentucky?
Hello, my name is Leah. I'm 17. This is Peyton, Blake, and Assad. And a fun fact about our community is that we have a lot of country music stars like Loretta Lynn and Chris Stapleton who come from here. Thank you.
And finally, in Nigeria.
Good day to you all. My name is Juliana. I'm 14 years old, and here with me I have
Maybe Hussein, and I'm 14 years old.
I'm Mohammed Nasser. I'm 15 years old.
And I'm Mercy Kamba, and I'm 15 years old. I'm Mariya and Juliana, and I'm 18 years old. I am Juliana, I am 19 years old.
So we thank you for all. And our fun fact. Fatima, give us our fun fact.
And here our fun fact in our community is that for a group of Ninja youth unite, and one of their members, 26 Muslims and 26 Christians, half of them male and half of them female, unite as one to be peace ambassadors. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the introduction. My name is Saji again, from Search for Common Ground, and represent the UN Working Group as well, United Nations Working Group on Youth and Peace Building. I feel very privileged to be here in this dialogue, so thank you for having me. Just as a way of introducing myself a little more, I'm originally from Sri Lanka, lived in the United States for many years, but when I was growing up, I grew up in a family where my mother was comes from a strong Buddhist background. My father was a Catholic priest in the church, a brother in the Catholic church, who had to give up his dream of being a church leader to get married to my mother. So I grew up in a Buddhist and Catholic family and exposed to the rituals and traditions that both religions brought. And I'm really glad to be joining this today.
Thank you, Saji, and thank you to all of our young people. We are excited to get started. And I'd like to remind our audience at home or at school to introduce yourself. We do have a live chat feed happening now. Please share with us where you're joining us from and what you're excited to hear about today, okay? And we're going to jump right in and start our conversation with the young leaders. And won't you please share with us, all of you, what you identify with as your religion or faith, okay? And we will start in Nigeria.
My name is Zima, and my religion is Christianity. I'm a family of six.
My name is Fatima B. Hussein. I'm a Muslim girl, and then I'm from a family of seven.
I'm Mohammed. I'm a Muslim and from a family of six.
I'm Mercy Kambai and I'm a Christian from a family of seven. Okay, I'm Mariya. I'm a Muslim girl. I'm from a family of 10 and I'm living in a Muslim dominated area. I am Juliana. I belong to the family of 5.
Okay, how about Kanai?
Thank you.
Hi. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we were muted. So my name is Kira, and I, along with most other people in this classroom, would identify as Christian. And I feel like it's safe to say that in Kenai and Soldotna, the main religion would be Christianity. It's not very much of a minority. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessie. I'm one of the few people in this class that have no religious identity, but religion is a big part of my life because I have many family members who practice different religions. In my family, there's Roman Catholicism, Christianity, Buddhism, paganism, Judaism, a bunch of other things. Thank you. Kentucky, do you want to go now?
Okay, this is Peyton from Kentucky. I identify as Christian, and specifically, I identify as Baptist.
My name is Blake. Along with Peyton, I'm a Christian, and my family does specifically worship a Baptist. Thank you.
My name is Asad Manan, and most of my family is Muslim, but we also have people that are Christian too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Leah, and my family is very Christian, and it's a very important part of our life and a lot of our daily life. And so what that means to me is we pray usually in the morning and at night, and we always pray before meals, especially during family gatherings. I attend church twice a week on both Sundays and Wednesdays, and sometimes on Sunday nights too. And I'm in a youth group, which is pretty active in our community, and I read the Bible, usually one verse a day, and we share it in a group chat where we all talk about it and that kind of thing. And I was just wondering about what sort of religious practices others have, especially you all in Nigeria. What kind of things you do in your daily life? Thank you.
Nigeria, if you wanted to respond, I think you're muted.
Yeah, go ahead now.
I'm a proud Christian girl. I attend church on Sunday and 3 times within the week for Bible studies, midweek prayers, and youth fellowship. I'm a Muslim girl and I pray five times a day.
Thank
And then go to church every Sunday, and then weekday go for morning masses because I'm Catholic, and then Saturday go for evening activities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also would love to hear from Soldatna Prep about how you identify as a religion or faith in your life and what it means in your daily practices.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm more agnostic. I don't really believe in anything, but I'm open to religion. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace. I'm a Christian, and like I go to church every Sunday, and I attend a youth group, and every Wednesday, and it just basically helps each other in our church. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and I don't identify with any religion either, but half of my family is Methodist, the other half are Catholics, and I have some people in my family who are Jewish. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Raylan, and my family doesn't really identify as a specific religion, but I have members outside my family that are Christian.
Hi. Hi, I'm Gabby, and I live part-time in Alaska and part-time in Washington. And in Alaska, my mom and my stepdad are Christian, but in Washington, my stepmom is Buddhist. So we attend, we go to temple instead of church. And I think like up here, I know it's a minority, like I never met anybody that's Buddhist up here. But in Washington, I think there's not really like a major majority in Washington. There's like a lot of mix. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to ask all of our sites, all of our young people to speak a little louder so we can make sure our audiences at home and school can hear you, okay? Thank you. And I just want to pose a follow-up question for both of our schools in Alaska about what this means in your daily life. Are there youth groups that you belong to, and what happens in those groups?
So my name is Grace again, and at youth group we usually like play games and just like so we get to know each other really well and become really good friends, and then we'll like talk about the Bible and that kind of thing and just share about our week. So we just kind of are in it together, and basically we become really good friends. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and like I said, I don't identify with the religion, but the one thing that just kind of ties me down and kind of, I guess, connects me to the world is I love art, and I like to paint things, and I love like making ceramics and whatnot, so that's kind of.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. I want to ask our audience at home as well to please share how religion or faith plays a role in your daily life, whether it's going somewhere with other people or a practice that you have at home. Please share with us. And I'd also like to ask Saji in Nigeria, what are some of your practices in your spirituality that you find ground you today?
Thank you for the question. I forgot to mention that I'm actually, even though I grew up with a Buddhist and Catholic background, I'm actually more spiritual as well. Participants on here, and for me, I'll answer the question this way. I get very nervous when I speak in public, and I do a public speaking all the time. So a couple of spiritual things I do is I meditate, and I meditate because it calms me down. The other part of this that is connected to this question is I live part of my life in Ukraine. In Ukraine, it's a very religious country, and most of the people are very white. And I'm obviously not very white. And one of the things that I've learned to do is always smile and say hi to people. And it breaks the ice, and it brings a smile to me as well as it brings a smile to the person who doesn't know me or doesn't understand who I am even. So those are things that I do almost on a daily basis.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. And as we can tell now that around the world, we have a lot of similarities in our religious practices. We're going on Sundays or a day during the week to worship with family and with community. And so outside of our similarities, we also know that religious and spiritual associations can be very varied or different. And so we want to talk a bit about some of the differences or the assumptions that are made about our religions by people who are outsiders. Because we know that these differences can oftentimes lead to major conflicts, which can become dangerous, and from a lack of exposure or lack of awareness of other religions that people make these misconceptions. So we'd like to hear from all of you young people about the misconceptions made about your religion or any misconceptions you've made about another person's religion, okay? And so why don't we start in Kentucky with Assad? Would you like to talk about your experience there? And then we'll just go around. Thank you.
This is Assad, and personally, I haven't seen very many misconceptions about what my religion, my faith, and all that. People don't really ask me questions like that because they don't really want to offend me, I don't think, but I feel like they talk about it behind my back. But one thing I do know is that my dad, he's a doctor by profession, and he's had patients that don't want to come to him because he's a different race, religion, all that. They don't feel safe, they don't think he can trust them, and all that. But once they can pass that first barrier, they really realize that he's actually very genuine, he loves what he does, and he wants to help them. And thank you.
Also talking about assumptions, this is Peyton, and I would like to discuss my best friend. She's Muslim, and a lot of people have a bunch of assumptions and misconceptions about her because of the hijab, because of the religious garment she wears. And I know, Ashley from Kenai County, I know you have a lot to say about that and about how people don't really understand or know how to respond about the hijab. So could you explain on that, please? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I was able to host a foreign exchange student from Cairo, Egypt, and she was a Muslim. But what I expected when we started hosting her, I expected her to wear the hijab and be, like very strict with her religion and what she could and couldn't eat. And what we found out is when she got to us, she didn't wear her hijab and she didn't pray on like a very regular basis. She ate a lot of the foods that like traditionally they're not supposed to eat, but she did keep to like not eating pork and stuff. But we were very accepting of that, and we understood that people are religious on different levels, like most Christians are. But a lot of people, when I would talk about having a Muslim foreign exchange student, they would ask me, is it weird that she wears a hijab, just already expecting that she did. And they would question her faith whenever I would say, oh, she doesn't wear a hijab, she just dresses like everybody else. And they'd be like, are you sure that she's a Muslim? Because usually they wear the hijab. And so it's something that I kind of thought was weird, that people just didn't know that people are religious on different standards for every religion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. So Datna, let us hear from you about either misconceptions you've made or what people assume about the religion in your community.
Hi, my name is Grace, and being a Christian, I've had some misconceptions about people thinking that we have to be like perfect or like try to be better or always doing super well, but that's not true. We could be doing terrible, but we're still a Christian. And yeah. Nigeria, could you talk about some misconceptions that you've had or you have? Thank you.
Many students in my school ask me that why is it that we the Muslims used to pray five times a day. I told him that if you are a Muslim and you live in the 5 pillars of Islam, you recite daily prayers every day. Messi, what assumption have others made about your religion?
I'm actually a Christian. What most people assume about my religion, they feel we just speak, but we don't act to what we say. We just unserious people who don't to go to sleep and they will just see themselves. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all at home. If you would like to share with us as well some of the assumptions made about your religion or some things that you thought about another person's religion before you learned about them better, please share that with us and we will share them out with the world. Saji, as someone who works with young people and as we're hearing the misconceptions and we know that there are a lot about the Muslim community and about the Christian community, what are the dangers you see coming from these misconceptions? How do you see this showing up in the lives of young people? And in peacemaking, what do you think are the ways to approach these misconceptions?
Thank you for the question. I'll speak about two dangers of misconceptions, and I'll build on what I've heard so far from Alaska and Kentucky and from Nigeria as well. One misconception, I think, is that the realization that one religion is more superior than the other. And almost connected to that is the realization that even within a religion, it's not monolithic. That even within that religious group, there are differences of practice, differences of beliefs, based on family, based on background, education, whether you're from a rural area or an urban area. So it kind of leads to the misunderstanding of the other, which I think leads also to a level of mistrust, mistrusting the other person, not trusting the other person because their religion is not as cool as mine, or their activities or rituals or traditions are not as not embracing of my practices. So this misunderstanding and mistrust is a fertile ground sometimes, a breeding ground for people who want to drive a wedge between people and use fear as a way of dividing people around. And I've seen this in so many countries, from the United States to Nigeria to Indonesia, where people are dividing people based on fear, and using fear as a way to divide people. Despite the commonalities we hear, other people divide them. I think one of the challenges in this world, thinking about it, is that adults sometimes don't trust the capacity, the ability of young people to make informed decisions. So one of the challenges is getting adults to recognize the power and the potential and the wisdom sometimes that exists among young people as well. And the second, I think, is sometimes when we talk about religion or faith or beliefs and mix it up with conflict, we always focus on the conflict, the ugliness that exists among humanity. And the challenge is that doesn't really lead to a positive outcome. So the challenge then is, how do you amplify the positive things young people are doing? Young people here in Jaws, young people across the world, even in the schools, are doing good things, but those are not recognized because the bad things get recognized even more. So the call of today is really to see how do we amplify these things. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very solid response. And I think we can all agree about the role of fear and how it divides us because we want to stay protected and we want to protect our families. I wanted to offer space for any of the students if you wanted to talk more about the misconceptions and why you find them dangerous when you see them or hear them happening in your community.
Peyton from Kentucky, and speaking on what Saji said, it's very dangerous because we're all human beings. We need to be with each other, especially, as you know, several bad things have happened in America as of recently. Today is really the time where we all need to come together, despite religious differences, despite different beliefs. We have to come together because in the end, we're all human beings. We're all here for each other, and we all have the same underlying meaning in our religion, which is acceptance and love. we shouldn't be divided. We should be together. And I feel like that's really what our religions highlight. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chloe, and I just wanted to kind of lead off something that Satya said about leading with fear. Especially in last year's election, I kind of saw a lot of that. Like, for example, Republican candidate Donald Trump decreased a whole race of people, Mexicans, to he called them rapists for one, and he just wanted to like scare the people to think they were a bunch of criminals coming into the country, so he could have the propaganda to build his wall or whatever to do. Racist. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I think a lot of us here in this country are very aware now of a lot of the ways fear is being used to divide us and turn us against each other, which is exactly why we're hosting conversations like this about building friendship across difference. So with that said, I'm going to move us forward into ways that we can embrace difference when we meet people of different religions or other various different backgrounds. And so we have two superstars in the house with us in Nigeria who did a wonderful video for us about building friendship across religious difference, Juliana and Mariya. And so I want to hear from both of you. Juliana, can you talk about what it's like to have your perspective shifted when you meet someone of a different religion?
All right, thank you very much for this question. Some years back, there was a peace camp organized by Search for Common Ground Nigeria. We had 11 Christian girls and 11 Muslim girls brought together under the same umbrella to talk about peace. So in that camp, my perspective changed because I used to see the Muslim people as bad. But in that camp, we eat together, we sleep together, we do a lot of activities. And it really helped me realize that these people, the Muslims, are good people. And they are the best people I can work with for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for anyone who wasn't able to hear her, she was explaining her experience in camp with 11 Muslim girls and 11 Christian girls, where they had to roommate with each other and learn about each other's religion and culture. And in the experience of eating together and praying together and learning together, they were able to see more similarities than differences across themselves. And so her perspective on Muslim people being bad, which was probably pushed on her by society, she was able to see how she had things in common with her Muslim peers, right? And so for Mariya, I'd like to know what you think other young people who are similar to you can do to embrace difference, especially across religion. And as we've heard this word fear, how do we overcome fear of other people?
Thank you very much. I think by building friendship with each other, a Christian, Muslim, and Muslim students coming together and building friendship together. And also, I think the best way to build to embrace religious differences is to create a platform for both Muslim and Christians to come together. By doing that, they will be able to understand each other and embrace the differences. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our young leaders in Kentucky and Alaska, are there experiences that you've had that have expanded your awareness?
Hello, this is Peyton from Kentucky again. Here, a lot of people try to put Christians in a box, especially where we're Southern, that we're very judgmental. But me and Leah definitely have had many experiences where we have been able to experience diversities, which has really made us more open-minded, which is what I really think that the young generation and the new people are starting to experience. We're starting to really expand our minds and expand what type of people we are going to be, you know, communicating with. We're communicating right now. Technology is at an all-time huge. We get, like right now, what we're doing right now, we're videotaping right now, and it's that we can come to each other and come together through that, through technology. And also, the new open-mindedness of this generation has really helped us to accept and get rid of a lot of misconceptions of different religions and different people. So I think that's a big part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton. I have a follow-up question for you, which is, how have you yourself been exposed to that diversity? Like, do you seek it out so that you can embrace this perspective, or how do you come into contact with these opportunities?
Okay, so Peyton and I are a part of Future Problem Solving, and generally every year we go to an international competition. And so ever since around 5th grade for both of us, I think, we've met people from around 13 other countries, actually more, but just 13 who are delegates, and there are more that are included. So we've sort of, even though we're from a small community, we've kind of grown up around diversity because we go so often. And we've been able to make a lot of friends from other states and countries who have different mindsets, and I think it's been really interesting, and it's been very
eye-opening.
Yeah, eye-opening and beneficial for us to be able to do that and to experience something like this, which I think is very similar, where we can have these open conversations. It's just very important, especially in a community as small as ours. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. What about at Soldotna? Can you share about any of the experiences struggling with embracing difference that you've witnessed?
Hi, it's Chloe again. But my parents here in Alaska, they're more close-minded. They're heavily Christian, but not close-minded. But anyways, they're often, like, if they see something on the news, like a terror attack, they'll often reduce all Muslims to terrorists and say some terrible things. But I have my dad who lives out of state. I go down to Lower 48 every summer, occasionally on Christmas, and I've seen the town he lives in Oregon. It's kind of small, but it's more diverse than the town than Soldotna. So I've seen a lot of like different religions and races, and I've seen them being treated badly, and just it doesn't sit with me very well. If my parents hear, they'll like say something like about terror attacks, like I said, then I'll try to tell them that what their perspective isn't really correct, and they should think about the whole story instead of their single story. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that at Soldotna and maybe at Kenai as well, you all have exchange students. Is that correct? And so someone's had an exchange student experience that they want to share.
Hi, my name is Madeline, and we currently are hosting a foreign exchange student from Egypt, and she is Muslim, and my family doesn't really have a religion. We don't go to church every Sunday and stuff, but it's been really interesting to watch how her religion like affects us and how she does things differently than we do.
Can you tell us maybe like one thing that you find either cool about her practice or that you didn't know existed in the Muslim faith that you now know because she's with you?
So they have like rules about how they can't eat certain things, and so she doesn't eat pork, and so it's like we don't try and push anything on her, and she's really careful about what she eats. Thank you.
You learned about her dietary restrictions and how, like, as a part of her practice, she does not eat certain things, right? Is that what you said? Perfect, thank you. Let's hear from Kenai. Would you like to share anything from your end about the embracing of difference and what you see happening in your community with other young people when they embrace difference?
Hi, I'm Jessie. Like I said in the beginning, talking about religious identity, my family has a lot of different religious beliefs and people who practice different religions. And because I do not have my own personal religious identity, I've had to deal with some of my family members, typically my grandparents, who are more of from a closed-minded generation. They have sat me down once and asked me to just pick one. So I have some place to go when I die, so I can go to heaven or wherever it is after we leave this life. And I thought, I had mixed emotions about it. I believe that religion is a good thing. People should have a religion, something to believe in, and something that grounds them and gives them hope, and just something to have faith in. But I believe that society now should start becoming more open-minded, instead of having those closed-minded beliefs and narrow views on things, and just accepting people for what they believe in, what they look like, what they support, what they practice, and yeah, so thank you.
Yes, thank you. We actually have received some comments from other schools in Kentucky and in Massachusetts, and these young people agree with all of you that a lot of their struggles with closed-mindedness comes from their parents or their grandparents or other adults forcing them to pick a side or decide on how they want to practice and forcing them to go to church. And so what we know is that young people, all of you, really are our future as it relates to expanding the minds of the adults around you. So thank you all for sharing your experiences there. And as fast as this time has all gone, this has been a great conversation, and we are sadly almost done. So I want to thank you all for this conversation about religion, about faith, about the challenges we see in embracing difference and identifying ways that others can expand their minds, whether through travel or using the internet or using social media to explore religions and faiths that they have not been exposed to. And so I thank you all for sharing that. Before we conclude, I want to have every site close us out with any final thoughts that you might want to share. And why don't we start with you guys, Kenai, there in Alaska. Any last thoughts?
Hi, I'm Ashley, and us in Kenya, we really enjoyed getting to talk about how different everybody is and learning about different relationships and religions, just constantly opening up our minds even more. Because coming from a small town where everybody's pretty much the same religion, it's really hard to understand and get to know people from different religions, and like kind of defeat some of the stereotypes that we've kind of been taught by some of our parents. So thank you.
So Datna, final words, anything?
My name is Rhiannon, and we just wanted to say that we've learned some new things about different people, and we're happy to be here. Thank you.
Kentucky.
This is Asad from Kentucky, and on behalf of all of us, we're really thankful for this experience, for letting us talk to you. And I just want to reiterate how beneficial and good experience this is, because especially in times of struggle, it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, what type of race, religion you are. We're all the same person. No one's better than one another. We should all just unite, because we're all the same type of people. We're all humans, all under the same God, if you believe in that. And yes, thank you for this conversation. We've had a lot of good things to take away from this, and I hope that you have too, especially in Nigeria. So thank you once again.
Thank you. And of course, last but not least, Nigeria. Any final words? And then Saji, we'd love to hear any final words from you.
So with the Niger Youth Met say thank you all.
That's it. Okay, if I may share some final thoughts as well. Again, first, thank you for allowing me to be joining you in this circle of wisdom. And a great pleasure I feel, so thank you for enabling me to be here. Couple of quick thoughts. For many years, young people have been viewed by the international community as either lazy or apathetic, or as troublemakers in situations of conflict. And the other thing, they have been seen as the victims of conflict and violence, whether here in Nigeria or elsewhere. But there's another reality that people have neglected to recognize. And that recognition is starting to come out now more and more. People are realizing that there's a new reality, that young people are not just the hope for the future, but they are also very actively engaged today in the present. And we heard today from several places, from Alaska and Kentucky and Nigeria, that there is a lot of activity that young people are already very much doing, and doing it not from the head, but from the heart. So I think the challenge moving forward really is, how do we transform the fear into hope, so that we can touch and grab the humanity we have, just like one of the participants said. How do we use our humanity? It's almost like, how do we battle for our humanity as opposed to battle each other? And that's the challenge that I think we as adults don't have answers to. We have failed miserably every time we try this out. So it is actually in the hands of young people. Our failures are in the hands of young people to change. And it's people like you, every day in your life, doing good things to change the difference, and make a difference in people's lives, is what actually comes down to. So our battle for humanity is at that level. So thank you for enabling me to share my thoughts and be part of this very important conversation.
Thank you, Saji. Thank you, Nigeria, Kentucky, Kanai, Saudatna. Thank you all so much. I want to share a final thought from our online audience, actually. And they are calling in from Massachusetts, and they belong to the Global Citizenship Institute, where their class interacted with a class of students in Sri Lanka, where they learned about the religious differences and diversity in the whole country, and were able to reflect on conflicts outside of the school when it comes to religious diversity. And we learned about what it is they do to embrace being open-minded with each other as young people. And so they also find that using technology and these global interactions helps them to learn about other people, which helps them understand the global aspect of embracing difference in a new way. So thank you, Cindy, and your class for sharing that comment. I do appreciate it. And I want to close us out with thank yous. I want to thank all of our young leaders in all of our sites, and Saji for being our special guest. I want to recognize and honor our partners in this event, Search for Common Ground and Students Rebuild, for an amazing platform for us to have these conversations. I want to thank again our superstars, Mariya and Juliana, for doing this video and sharing your story with the world. We are so very grateful. And I'd like to remind everyone watching, talking, listening to join the challenge, join the Facing Difference Challenge, and find ways to embrace difference in your own local communities. And one way you can start is by registering and doing a self-portrait for us. We are doing a global art project with the faces of young people from around the world, and we invite you all to join us in that initiative. Thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to joining you again in February with a conversation on race. Again, thank you so much to everyone involved, and I wish you all a happy day. Peace.